Anytime you're solving a word problem, the first thing you want to do is try to sketch it out if possible. So in this particular question, we're told that we're going to replace a kitchen countertop, and we're also given the dimensions of the countertop. So I'm going to go ahead here and just draw a sketch, and I'm going to label it. Now we have one dimension given in centimeters, another one in meters. We need to convert them into the same unit, and it doesn't matter which unit you go into, we just need to get them into the same unit to be able to calculate the area. The next thing we're told is that the store sells the countertop material by the square foot. So these are both SI or metric measurements. We need to be able to convert them into imperial measurements. Now, one way to go about that is to, at this point, turn these both into feet, but I'm actually going to find the area and then convert. So we can begin by multiplying the length by the width, and when we do that, we end up with that many square meters, and then we're going to divide by 0.3048 squared, because remember, we're converting both the length and the width. We're applying that conversion factor 2 times. You can refer back to your formula sheet to get those conversion rates, and you can also go over to the side here and set up a proportion if you're not sure whether or not to multiply or divide. When we go ahead and divide those two, we end up with this many feet. But this particular store, most stores, will only sell material by the square foot. It means you cannot buy a portion of a square foot. Now, even though we have 10.4948 square feet, this is a little bit less than half, we can't round down because then you won't have enough for your countertop. So we're going to round up, and we need to purchase 11 square feet. In our second example, we have a sphere. It gives us the diameter of the sphere, and we are covering the surface of it with small mirrors. So we need to figure out what is the surface area of that sphere. So we're going to begin by setting up the formula. We can calculate the radius by dividing the diameter in half. So we're going to take that 50 centimeters, and we're going to divide it in half to get 25 centimeters. Now, this question ultimately wants us to calculate the cost per square foot. So because on the formula sheet we can go from meters into square feet, what I'm going to do is say, okay, 50 centimeters is going to be 0.5 meters. We're dividing by 100. And then if I divide that in half, I've got the number of centimeters that I need to put in for the radius. So we can calculate in square meters what the surface area is. Now, it also says that we're going to purchase 5% extra of the material, because sometimes when you're cutting or if something happens, you always want to have a little bit extra. So what we're going to do is multiply by 1.05. We're changing that 5% into a decimal, and then when we multiply by 1, that preserves the original amount, and then we're also including that 5% extra. So again, we're working in square meters. This is how many square meters we have around that sphere. Now, we have to convert this into square feet. So we can go to our formula sheet, check to see what's the conversion going from square feet to square meters, and then remember this is area. So area is in square units. We're going to square that conversion factor. So we're going to divide by that 0.3048 squared, and that's going to convert it into square feet. So we're going to end up with that many square feet. And then because it's $10 per square foot, again, you can always set up a proportion, or you might just recognize we're multiplying by $10 per square foot. So those square feet are going to ultimately, the units are going to cancel, leaving us just with the cost. So it's going to come out, when we round it, to $88.77 to the nearest cent. And in our final example, we have a coffee mug, and we're trying to calculate the volume of coffee if the mug is completely full. So the first thing we're going to do is draw a sketch and label any information we're given. So they tell us the diameter. We're also told the height of that mug. So we can see that it's a cylinder. We also ultimately need to have our answer to the nearest cubic centimeter. So because of that, I'm going to leave the diameter in centimeters. I'm going to convert from inches into centimeters by multiplying by that 2.54 to get the height in the unit we ultimately want to be in. Now, because we're looking for volume of a cylinder, I'm going to begin by writing down that formula. And then if we're told the diameter is 9 centimeters, divide that in half, and we can get 4.5 for the radius. And then we're going to square that and multiply it by the height. When we do that, and again, don't round the answer until the end, so we're just going to keep that in our calculator. This is how many cubic centimeters one mug of coffee will hold. Now, Mr. Jones drinks 3 mugs of coffee. So we're going to multiply that by 3, and we end end up with this many cubic centimeters, but the question wants us to round to the nearest cubic centimeter. So again, with rounding, we're going to go to the nearest centimeter, take a look at the number that comes after. Because it's a 0, this number stays as a 9. It does not round up. So we're going to end up with that many cubic centimeters.